Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Feisty, fearless, and fair. She's an Emmy-winning journalist from the White House to war zones, telling all sides of the story. This is the Rita Cosby Show. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, anti-ICE protesters are amassing outside the federal facilities there in Minneapolis. Protesters still gathering for now yet another night, trying to put ICE on the ground. So ICE vehicles are slipping and sliding, throwing things at ICE officers. And this comes as a big announcement comes down from the Trump administration that the DOJ, the Department of Justice, is investigating Governor Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey over possible obstruction for obstructing law enforcement operations in their cities. It's a biggie, and you can make the case certainly that many of the things that they have said and they have done could qualify, go well beyond First Amendment rights, well beyond, because I believe many of the things they've said have been incendiary, they've been insightful, and they have been dangerous. And that's why things are really getting out of hand there. By the way, Governor Walz just putting out a statement just a few moments ago and responding to this investigation by the federal government, saying, here it is. 2 days ago, it was Alyssa Slotkin. Last week, it was Jerome Powell. Before that, it was Mark Kelly. Governor Tim Walz further says, weaponizing the justice system against your opponents is an authoritarian tactic. The only person not being investigated for the shooting of Renee Good is the federal agent who shot her. So essentially saying that he's a victim of politics as opposed to his rhetoric being completely irresponsible. And earlier today, President Trump, before he left for Florida, was asked if he would invoke the Insurrection Act, which has been used a number of times throughout history. Would he invoke the Insurrection Act and have the military come into Minneapolis to maintain law and order? And here's what President Trump had to say.
For the Insurrection Act in Minnesota, what are we waiting for?
Well, the Insurrection Act, which has been used by 48% of the presidents as of this moment, the Insurrection Act also, if you look at it, I believe it was Bush, the elder Bush, he used it, I think, 28 times. It's been used a lot. And if I needed it, I'd use it. I don't think there's any reason right now to use it. But if I needed it, I'd use it. It's very powerful.
President Trump not hesitating to say that he will use it. By the way, also Jacob Frey coming out and saying he will not be intimidated. That's the message back to President Trump now that they're investigating him and also Tim Walz for obstruction. And here is Professor John Yoo, the great constitutional expert, because we talked with him earlier on Katz and Cosby about Trump invoking the Insurrection Act. This is what he had to say. What do you think about the Insurrection Act? And could Trump invoke it? Because that's the big question, and it could come soon.
I agree, and I don't actually think this is a hard one on the law. It might be important what the facts are, but the Insurrection Act, it allows the president, first of all, we should remember, allows the president to call out troops in much more than just an insurrection. So there's three cases. One is insurrection and another one's an invasion. But the third one, the broadest ground, is if there are groups, conspiracies, combinations is what the statute says, that are trying to stop the enforcement of federal law. And that is, again, this is not the president claiming this power on his own. This is the power that Congress has given to the president. Those are the words of Congress. So take a look at I don't know what you've seen on the video out of Minneapolis. I see federal agents being attacked. I've seen efforts to blockade federal ICE facilities so that people can't go in and out, so people can't leave and try to enforce federal law. I see no Minneapolis police officers. I see no Minnesota state troopers trying to maintain order so that federal agents can do their job. It seems to me, based on the video, that President Trump has a legal basis to call out the military because you have groups of people trying to stop federal law from being enforced.
You could make the case they have been impeding and obstructing. Clearly, these individuals, I'm talking about local law enforcement, not being allowed to help ICE. There were reports the other day that ICE was pleading for help and they were surrounded by protesters and that no Minneapolis police officers came. I'm not blaming the police. I'm sure they're being instructed, do not respond, do not assist. That's a problem. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Rose in Long Island on line 2. Rose, your thoughts tonight.
Hi, Rita. My thoughts are, I believe Minnesota is one of the 19 states that has the recall provision in their charter.
Yep, you're right.
Governor.
You're right. I believe it's usually for something like serious misconduct, something like that, a crime. And yes, you're right. There is a recall effort that could be done.
Yeah. So why don't the Republicans get together and put a petition and start that? Like we might box him in the corner. He's got the feds coming after him for this possible impeding federal investigation for the Medicare, Medicaid fraud. And also, his own constituents want him out. Maybe this self-described knucklehead will step down and do us all a favor. I don't know who the lieutenant governor is, but it can't be worse than he is. You know, you brought up,
you reminded everybody, you're right. He called himself a knucklehead, and I will agree with him on that, and I'll agree with you, Rose. I remember when he said that. We're like, yeah, that's the only thing I think I've ever heard out of his mouth that I do agree with, right?
You're absolutely right. But I know his term is over in 27. But you know, the faster he leaves, the better it is for everybody.
It is,
you know, really.
And it's interesting that the good people in Minneapolis and other towns there, other cities there in Minnesota, you're right, they should be working towards it. The problem is, and I have to look and see. I would imagine, of course, like a lot of states, like the lieutenant governor is probably an ally of his.
I'm sure he is, and God forbid she would be like Hochul. I know New York State doesn't have the recall provision, but, you know, you got the feds coming after him. You got his own people who want him out. You know, hey, like I said, maybe he'll have the good graces and just step down and get out of there. So we don't have to put the country through this.
Yeah, and it would sure send a message that you have to take responsibility and you have to do the right thing for your citizens, which is why, you know, even this Insurrection Act is a very interesting thing, because if you look at the standard, it's disobeying federal law, but also violating individual civil rights, because citizens there in Minneapolis have a right to be protected. They have a right to feel safe in their communities. And you could certainly make the case that his actions are not doing that. When ICE is there trying to round up people that have committed very serious, dangerous crimes, and they're not helping and in fact blocking and allowing these protesters to get close and go after officers, turning a blind eye is not an excuse. You know, I mean, and we're seeing that time and time again. And there's certainly a lot of these protesters I absolutely believe are being riled up by the statements coming from Tim Walz and Jacob Frey. Both of them, I think, equally have been just incredibly disgusting as leaders and dangerous, too. Great points, Rose. Very, very much. You're right. Let's see. Maybe that will happen sooner than later. Let's hope. Let's go to Eduardo in Tampa, line 5. Eduardo, your thoughts?
Yeah, Rita, I noticed this week, and I don't think it happened just once, young high schoolers protesting, getting out of the classroom instead of being.
Yeah, you know what? You bring up a good point. You're right. There are a lot of students. And in fact, a lot of teachers were even pushing for that, Eduardo. So you're right. There are a lot of students that have been sort of part of a lot of these protests. That's a troubling trend, too. But I think a lot of them, first of all, a lot of them are getting paid, I believe. There have been some reports that people who've been interviewed by some of the news networks out there, when they've asked, hey, like there was a woman the other day, it was a young woman. She said, oh, no, I'm getting paid right now. That's why I'm here. I mean, if you're a young person and they say, hey, would you stand over here and shout these vile things and we'll give you X hundred a day? I think there's a lot of young people that will take that. But you're right. We got to find out who's funding them, too. That's the other issue. Eduardo, great points. Thank you very much. Let's go to Casey in Detroit, line 4. Casey, your thoughts.
Hey, Rita, how you doing? Hey, I got to take you off here. Okay. I'd like to say that, like, why hasn't the Democrat or the Republican Party fought this hard against the Democrat Party? And like, the Democrat Party fights every tooth and nail that Trump wants to do. But where was the Republican Party when Biden or whoever was running the country letting all these illegal aliens in, and now they're fighting tooth and nail to keep them here?
Your point is what? I'm confused. Your point is what? That the Republicans should have been more vocal before. They were pretty vocal when the border was wide open. But they didn't file lawsuits and stuff. Every single thing that Trump does, there's a lawsuit. No, that's a great point. You are absolutely right. They don't seem to be as offensive, in terms of going on the offense, as the Democrats. There's no question. You're right. The Democrats, you sneeze wrong, or even if you sneeze right, they try to sue you. So I agree that is a very, very good point. And I think the Republicans have been much more docile. You even look at some of the leadership, the folks in leadership, they've been pretty docile. They still are even pretty docile with so many of the things that are taking place there. And yet, the Democrats really, go on very much a litigation highway and an impeachment highway. And don't you believe, also, KC, that should the Democrats take over the House, it is going to be impeachment central. They're already talking about, impeaching Trump. They're talking about impeaching Kristi Noem, the head of Homeland Security, at every single turn. And they're good at, deflecting too, because when everything was coming up about Mayorkas, remember, they were deflecting that one big time. So they seem to be good at, much better, I think, in the PR game. But I think your point's a very important one. It's a midterm election year, and they better step up because the Democrats are clearly playing for keeps, and they're willing to go to the point where they're going to say defund ICE, don't do this, don't do that. These people have no boundaries, Casey, and I think you hit it right on the head. They got to step up and play. If your opponent is suing left and right and slamming you left and right, you got to step up and do the same, especially in the world of politics. You can't just sit back and assume that the American public understands it. 1-800-848-9222. Everybody, we will continue with your calls after the break. Did you hear the big news that now Tim Walz and Jacob Fry are being investigated by the feds for possible obstruction, for obstructing federal authorities? Is this the right thing to do? Is it over the line? 1-800-848-9222, and we'll continue your calls, everybody, after the break.
It's the Rita Cosby Show. Rita Cosby is on.
And get this, tonight, Michael Cohen, remember Trump's former attorney, says that he was coerced by Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, and Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan DA, to turn on Trump. He says that it was clear that their sole agenda was to get Trump. He said, quote, I felt compelled and coerced to deliver what they were seeking, that they may not share the same office or political calendar, but they share the same playbook. In other words, that he was sort of forced to only give things that was incriminating to Trump. This is a little too late coming from Michael Cohen. And he seems to be having maybe a little regrets over some of the things that he got pulled into. He did spend, I think it was a year in jail for tax fraud and some other things. But now he seems to be having a little bit of a self-reflection, if you will. Obviously, too little, too late in my book. Trump, by the way, is appealing that big decision. Remember, in that the judgment of $454 million, that was that civil fraud case against Trump, and for, quote, inflating his real estate assets, which was just ridiculous. That whole case was so ridiculous. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Sandra in New Jersey. Sandra, your thoughts tonight.
I was just reading the same thing, Rita. And you know what else Michael Cohen said? He also said that he thinks Comey likely committed the crime. Now he's saying all this. Do you believe this?
Yeah, it's like now he's saying it. I mean, to me, it's like, give me a break. And he was like such a vocal. It didn't look like they had bamboo shoots under his fingernails while he was speaking, did it to you, Sandra?
No.
He was willingly out there and saying it left and right.
Right. Well, tonight I just wanted to talk about Iran again. You know, on 9/11, we were hit with the most horrific crime in the world. We lost 3,000 people. So you have to say to yourself, we had this happen once, 3,000 people, and we memorialize them and we talk about them and we never forget. Could you imagine if 9/11 kept happening in Iran? Well, that's actually what's happening in Iran. I'm trying to say that what happened to us once continually happens in Iran, and these poor people are living through this horrible thing. And I wanted to say...
So what do you think, Sandra? What do you think? There are reports, by the way, we got the Carrier Group moving in there. There are reports that Trump may take some action soon. What do you think?
Well, I think he's going to, and I think he should. In 1776, we had the Declaration of Independence adopted. These people never had a chance to have a moment like that, and I think that people can't leave. They're stuck over there. If they try to leave, they're going to get convicted.
Yep, no, you're right. And they are killing people. There are reports up to 40,000 killed.
It's the Rita Cosby Show. It's the Rita Cosby Show.
Well, it is another busy Friday night here on the Rita Cosby Show. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Robert in Pearl River on line 2. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, hi, Rita. How are you? I have two questions. Is she going to get off scot-free, number one, Letitia James, or they're going to have another case against her? Need a different case. Number two, when President Trump is done, she's going to go after him again because this person is an evil suit. She is a bad person.
You're talking about Letitia James, right? Is that what you're talking about? And Robert, let me answer your first question. Your first one is, will anything else happen to her on those charges? Well, in this particular case, I'll tell you that on the case with her mortgage, that was the big case. Remember, they're down in Virginia, and there were a lot of questions with that, no doubt. But it went to 2 grand juries, and both of them failed to indict. So it's probably safe to say it probably won't be revisited again unless there's some new information or maybe it's another case. The other thing, like you just said, you brought up a great point, because believe me, if President Trump, first of all, if the House doesn't stay in Republican hands and if it switches over to Democratic hands, you can bet that they will go full throttle with impeachment and other things. And they probably will try to go after Trump again, too. On the other hand, remember, he's not going to be able to run again, Robert. He can't run again. Remember, it's 2 terms. So they may try to focus their ire on Rubio or on J.D. Vance or some of the others that they think will be emerging. And maybe not spend their time on Trump, even though they clearly have Trump derangement syndrome. There is absolutely no doubt about that. Robert, great question. Very, very good one. Let's go to Stan. On line 1, Stan, how you doing?
Let's get to it, because I haven't been able to get through here for like 2 weeks.
Oh, Stan,
you're a busy customer.
The busy customer, but I always love hearing from you, Stan. Yeah, that's great.
See, yeah. Okay, let's get to it. I don't want to waste your time anyway. Here it is, okay? As far as I'm concerned, and this is my big thing, I want NATO to send as many troops in to Greenland as they can. And when he sends in American troops, I want NATO to respond militarily, because that's what's going to happen here.
Wait, NATO to respond to U.S.
Absolutely.
troops?
They're sending troops into Greenland to stop this mania.
Yeah, you know how many troops they sent in, Stan?
I don't care what they send in. Anything. Hey, all of NATO, all of the countries will go there. He's gone too far. Okay,
well,
now maybe it's
here's
just
what I think is going to happen.
Wait a minute, it's just bluster. Maybe it's just he's talking.
Right, and it very well may be. It very well may be.
I mean,
Stan.
but he has, as I've always said, you say he has that TVD, Trump verbal diarrhea syndrome.
Well, you have
TDS,
which is Trump derangement syndrome.
No, I don't. This guy doesn't know when to shut the hell up. And this way, look, who does that? Now, I think he basically wants Greenland and the area to strengthen themselves because he's worried about China and Russia. That's what he says. But I don't think the Chinese or the Russians say, wait a minute, what's he talking about? We ain't worried about that. But now that they know, one more thing, and this is even more important. Now that he's screwed up Venezuela, and I'm glad the guy
screwed up Venezuela.
No, here's the point. Now, look, he shut these ships that supposedly had drugs. We don't know that they had drugs, but he blew them up. What he has basically done is given a free hand to China and their side to go into Taiwan, because he said, we got to worry about our hemisphere. We got to go in there. Well, what do you think the Chinese are going to pull? So what is he going to do? Is he going to respond to the Chinese? No guts. He will not do it. He will not do it. He'll let Taiwan fall. He's basically given an open card to the Chinese.
All right. Okay. Well, first of all, thank goodness you're not the Secretary of State, because the world would be in complete disarray. You just gave us a lesson literally, foreign policy by dummies. I mean, that's crazy, Stan. What you just said was crazy from top to bottom. First off, you talked about Greenland. It is a strategic location. If you look at all the issues, China and Russia have been doing a lot of operations near that area. Now, I'm half Danish, by the way. I'm Danish and Polish. My mother's Danish. So I'm not crazy about anything happening untoward towards Denmark but the reality is Denmark is a very small country and it can't really protect Greenland. I hope at the end of the day there's a happy ending where maybe extra U.S. troops are there. Maybe, Greenland becomes independent. U.S. helps them. Or maybe Trump gets it, but they want it. But there's at least some sort of agreement where it's worked out, where there'll be a lot of security. Greenland will prosper. It's a win-win, something like that. I'm not for just suddenly taking over, but I do think that there are ways that could be very beneficial for the people there. And a number of them are saying they want some help. And it's clear, that sadly Denmark, which is a beautiful country, my mother's from Denmark, They're a very small country too. And the size of Greenland, it's about 25% bigger, I believe, than Alaska. So it's a big area. And little Denmark sadly can't protect it. And it looks like China and Russia are trying to get there. And that is getting closer to the United States. If you look at the geographics, there's no doubt about it. So that's what Trump's about. The other thing, for you to say he screwed up Venezuela, I guess you think it's better if Maduro's there. I guess you think it's better if the mullahs stay in power in Iran. I mean, that's a preposterous comment. And to equate Taiwan and China got a big wake-up call by what he did in Venezuela. Because China is clearly having some ties to Venezuela, as is Iran. So both of those countries got a mega wake-up call by this guy. I mean, that's a ridiculous comment. But Stan, when you get your history right, feel free to call me back. Let's go to Larry in Tampa. Line 4 after that one. Go ahead, Larry.
Hi, Rita. Thanks for taking my question. And I have a couple of points I'd like to make. And I was a trial lawyer for damn near half a century, and I never got hit with sanctions, Rule 11, because I never brought a frivolous case. This Letitia James and Judge Lewis Kaplan, they should the Congress should pass legislation to hold judges who should know better than anybody what a frivolous case is. If they don't recognize a frivolous case, who does? Letitia James, for bringing that frivolous case, she should be hit with sanctions as well as punitive damages after the higher court throws it out, which I think they'll do.
Well, which will, by the way,
she had no business. She stood in the shoes of a private plaintiff and not on behalf of the people of New York when she brought that case against Trump.
So I have two questions for you, Larry. One is the other thing with this case. You brought up a great point that it wasn't like she was representing, because the banks, who are the ones who loaned him the money, they said they made a lot of money and they would do it again. So there was no loss there. There was no injured party. They made tons of money and they were thrilled with him. So you're right. It was this.
Law was not meant
right
for the purpose of which she brought it.
Yep.
She brought it as a personal lawsuit on representing herself, because I think that she had designs on Trump's property. She used to walk by there and admire it all the time, like as if maybe she was going to have a hand in getting a portion of those assets,
or had designs, or Larry had designs for political office, because she knew that it would curry favor with a number of her base politically. I mean, her whole ad was, "I'll get Trump," and made that like her campaign issue, and she lived up to it, sadly, you know?
Right. My main point, though, was I think judges such as Lewis Kaplan should be held to a higher standard when reviewing cases and letting it in the door, and they should be hit with sanctions if the facts break out that way, because he knows better. Being a judge,
yeah, right. You're supposed to be a neutral arbiter, right?
Right.
And it sure doesn't look that way. Larry, I think that's a superb point. And I think more people need to be reining in these rogue folks. The problem is, and you know this, Larry, as you talk about your legal career, the problem is there's a lot of liberal judges out there. I mean, we've seen them at every twist and turn lately, going after Trump on a whole bunch of different craziness. So, you know, the problem is a lot of the judges agree. And that's a big issue, and that's a big problem. Larry, thank you very, very much. Let's go to Roger in Rockland on line 3. Go ahead, Raj. Hi, Roger. Are you there? Call back, Roger. We can't hear you. Let's go to line 2. Linda. Go ahead, Linda. You're here on the Rita Cosby Show. Linda, I'm losing you. We're having trouble with the lines. Let's go to Lamar in New Jersey. Go ahead, Lamar.
Good evening, Ms. Cosby. We're calling from North Philly tonight, not New Jersey, but I just wanted to make mention of the fact that one of your callers, I believe he describes himself as Stan, who articulated some very hateful dialogue concerning wanting to see American troops, our brave soldiery, confronted by our native allies in Greenland that could very easily result in loss of life. This type of statement is extremely disturbing, and it is also the same person, I believe, at one time called and said that he was rooting for the nations that Donald John Trump, our great president, was confronting with tariffs to bring about some facsimile of fair trade between our nations and restore some balance in that trade. I would adjure you, Miss Cosby, with all due respect and humility, to choose your friends more carefully. This is a man who not only has Trump derangement syndrome, but has a hatred for anyone, a hatred for our country. Anyone who hates Donald Trump hates the America First agenda. That man is a traitor. And Ms. Cosby, we all know out here in Radio Land that your love of country and patriotism are unimpeachable. So I would adjure you to choose your friends more carefully, because with friends like this, we don't need enemies. This man is an enemy of America.
Lamar, I hear you all fired up. By the way, you know I love to hear from everybody here on the show. And Stan has a right to say what he thinks, but you heard how I feel about what he said. I chastised him too. And it was such a preposterous comment. That I had to completely say, thank goodness he's not the Secretary of State. So what, by the way, where do you see this going, Lamar, with Greenland? And the fact that he actually said Trump screwed up Venezuela, that was a doozy too.
Well, the fact of the matter is, Ms. Cosby, I served in the South American Command when we had an installation known as Fort Clayton in Panama. And I can tell you that the Venezuelan people are proclaiming their love for Donald John Trump. He has brought freedom. He has brought dignity back to the Venezuelan people. This man, Stan, hates our country, Ms. Cosby, and he is not someone that you should call a friend.
Well, thank you. I'm always friendly to everybody. You know, I try to listen to everybody, and that's what makes America great. But I agree with you. I think Stan is off his rocker. So I'll agree with you on that one, Lamar. And I appreciate your love of country, my friend, too. Let's go to Roger in Rockland on line 3. Go ahead, Roger.
Okay, you couldn't hear me before. You hear me now, Rita?
I hear you now. Go ahead.
How you doing, dear? Okay, good. So that guy stole a little of my thunder. You couldn't hear me before, but same thing. I mean, like, he started out great, that guy Stan, talking about Letitia James being, just a horrible, whatever you want to call it. She's evil incarnate, like most of the big times these days. His comments after that is just pure buffoonery. So I don't even, I know you're being nice to him, but like he can't, he's disqualified as far as I'm concerned talking about politics. He just doesn't know what. Venezuela? What's it not?
That Trump screwed up Venezuela. I mean, are you kidding me?
Unbelievable. And the other guy talked about Panama. I just want to do a shout out. He's rest his soul, Brigadier General Special Ops Sean Mulholland. Any Army Rangers out there will remember his name. He led a lot of that went on with Noriega.
Oh, wow. So was he instrumental, Roger, in bringing Noriega to Florida?
He's pretty much the main guy, actually.
Wow. Tell me his name again, too, because we got to all remember it.
Yeah. Brigadier General Sean, S-E-A-N, the way it's supposed to be spelled, Mulholland, like the drive, M-U-L-H-O-L-L-A-N-D.
All right, good. We got to remember it because he clearly is a great American hero for what he did. And Trump is for what he did for Venezuela, too. Roger, thank you. Yes, Stan is off his rocker. I'll give you that one. 100%, guys. 1-800-848-9222. We'll continue your calls after the break, but first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And everybody, this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Support our Heroes segment with a powerful story from Quincy, Massachusetts, where Brigadier General Woody Woodhouse was welcomed by friends and family to celebrate his 99th birthday. Quincy's mayor said when you look back at World War II, what it meant for the world, and Woody served with incredible dedication. He was part of breaking the barriers down. And the mayor further said it's crazy when you think back to the barriers for race that want to serve and be part of conquering what was a clear evil at the time. So guys like Woody Woodhouse, they saved the world. After the bombing of Pearl Harbor, by the way, Woody's mother urged his brother and him to serve their country. And at just 17 years old, Woody enlisted in the Army. 2 years later, he was assigned to the 32nd Fighter Group, better known as the infamous Tuskegee Airmen. He graduated from Yale magna cum laude, and he was sent to Fort Robert E. Lee in Virginia. Bravo to this great veteran and his 39th birthday. I love that. And everybody, help America to never, ever forget. Donate just $11 a month. That's all it takes to make such an incredible difference to this great organization. You know, I love it. I have seen the incredible good that they have done to our heroes and for their families. Be sure to check out the great Tunnel to Towers Foundation at T2T.org. That's the number 2, T.org.
It's the Rita Cosby Show. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And there are reports tonight that there could possibly be some imminent action by U.S. or allies towards Iran. We know that the aircraft carrier group, the Abraham Lincoln, has headed to the region. And as we were talking about earlier in the show, just some of the things that have been happening to those freedom-loving protesters has been horrible, heartbreaking to hear. And in fact, even President Trump said a little bit ago that he had heard that 800 protesters were supposed to be hung, a public execution yesterday. And he got word that they did not do it, that they were not going to do it. Thank goodness. But now there's a report in the last hour or two that one of the sort of diehard clerics there is saying that the executions will begin again. So what will President Trump do? Could he potentially take some sort of action or some cyber action, some sort of military action? We know what he did with Iran when he came in June and hit those 3 nuclear sites. Iran knows better than to mess with President Trump. Let's go to Linda in New Jersey on line 2. Go ahead, Linda.
Hey, Rita, I'd like to say there are 2 tiers of justice system. Orma was denied refugee status as Instead, her real name. So she took the stolen identity of Omar. Nothing happened to her. She said her president was the Somalian president. Nothing happened to her. She advocated for Al-Qaeda. Nothing happened to her. That was 3 classifications of treason. Nothing happened to her. But then you have a citizen like Garner, just like a regular citizen of America, and he sold one of his cigarettes, which is not right. Apparently it's against the law, but it was just selling a cigarette from a pack of cigarettes that he bought.
Hey, Linda, so sorry, just because we got a hard break, but I do want to hear, do me a favor, you got to call back on Monday because I think you're making a great point. Everybody, have a good weekend.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to The Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.